Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another talk. Today we got somebody who's going to be great to talk to, somebody from Biocyclic Vegan International. We've got Axel Anders. How you doing, Axel?
Yeah, very fine. Thank you. Great to meet. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so I guess right off the bat, people might not get it in the name. What is Biocyclic Vegan International?
Well, the biocyclic vegan is an abbreviation because what we have to say is agriculture. It's about agriculture. And in a way, it's organic agriculture. So the bio in the German or in the European language, we say it's for organic agriculture. And we want to really, with organic agriculture, we want to regenerate the land, the soil. We want to give healthy food for healthy people. So this is the idea of organic farming. And, but also we came to the conclusion that seeing all the problems we're having actually with the climate issue, with biodiversity loss, with nitrogen in the soil and in the water, with all these problems which are caused by agriculture. And when we get a bit deeper into the problem, we start to understand that all this is related to animal agriculture and to the fact that we eat meat and too much meat. And animal products, meat and dairy. When we talk about the quantities of meat we are eating, seeing that we need all the feed for animals, we see the deforestation of the rainforest in South America. We see all this exaggeration of land use, which could be used for human nutrition, land which is used for animal feed. We lose a lot of calories and efficiency when we produce meat instead of eating plant-based proteins directly. We look at the situation of world nutrition, world food security in the future of feeding an ever-growing population on the planet. So we have to find a way how to get to another form of agriculture, which is organic, but which is also more plant-based, which excludes the detour via the animal, the farmed animal. I don't talk about the earthworms and all the microbes in the soils, which are very helpful, but I talk about farmed animals, which are getting more and more problem. So, and if you talk to people in organic farming, they tell you that well, you need animals. You need animal manure for soil fertility. You need animal manure for for the circularity for the circle for the closing of the circle on the land. And then this was the reason why some time ago I really thought about it. I said, well, is it true? And when you look at the experiences of really pioneers in organic farming, they say, well, you don't need the animals for it. If you think the animals, what do they eat? They eat plants. And manure is something which they have transformed from the plants. So the nutrients which they give back to the soil come from plants. You can do it directly. So we work in our form of agriculture. We work on what we call a plant-based fertilization of the soil. And seeing that nowadays there are more and more people becoming aware of the need of a plant-based diet and of a shift in the whole food and agricultural system towards more plant-based basis, then of course this is the agriculture which suits with it.
So you struck out something about the nitrogen, and nitrogen is something that's been happening where it makes runoff and it ends up going into the water table or going into the local creek or something like this. And we're using chemical fertilizer since, I don't know, World War II. What's the difference in your experience versus the chemical fertilizer and natural, more organic fertilizer? Which one's better? And do we really need the chemical stuff?
Oh, well, there we get deep into a question already, a technical question. I'm not the farming specialist. I'm not a scientist in this, but I can tell you from my experience that we are in a shift of even in a paradigm shift, actually, of how plants have to be fed, or how plants can get their nutrients. Because for a few hundred years, people always thought, well, we have to give water-soluble nutrients to the plants. And this is we give in form of manure, of compost, when it's still composting, when it's not ripe. we give it. And then we discovered after World War I that all the stuff which was made for dynamite, and so we can transform it into nitrogen fertilizers. So the industry grew, and so we thought it's fantastic. And this was the Green Revolution. We could really produce a lot of products for mankind conventionally. We had to also produce pesticides, of course, to keep the pests away and to keep the plants stable. But this is a whole system which we are used to. But when you look at plants in nature, they don't get this amount of water-soluble nutrients. They get much more what happens in the soil. It is, when you look in a forest, you don't have nitrogen, you don't have any fertilizers in the soil, but the soil, even the water in the soil is clear. So there's a whole system where, when you do it in the right way, when you create a healthy system, this means that the plants, together with the soil life, with the microbes in the soil, they have a possibility of collecting the nitrogen from the air, because air is everywhere. Nitrogen is everywhere. And you have microbes in the ground which are collecting nitrogen. You have them, for instance, in the legumes. And if you plant legumes, they collect nitrogen into the soil. But there are also many other bacteria in the soil who, in symbiosis with the root system, with the fungi and everything which grows in the soil, they can all together work in a way that they make the nitrogen available for the plants. And you don't need to put it in a water-soluble way, which itself destroys soil life, which destroys the mechanism which nature gives us for free. So in a way, we are used to the old system, but in organic farming, and especially in a more sensitive organic farming that we are striving for, we have different ways which are much more efficient and by the same time also help the soil to regenerate, because we are losing our soil at the moment. And I don't know for how many years we still can go on working on a dead, empty soil. And we have possibilities to regenerate it. But this, as I said, it's not my real topic. We have someone, I'm sure you will still interview, Dr. Johannes Eisenbach, who has discovered all this, who has also worked with us for setting up a standard, which is the Biocyclic Vegan Standard for farming, and where this is part of also of our approach. But I think you will have really a very interesting session with him when you discuss this question.
Oh, we're going to have him on right after I get done. I'm going to ask him now. Now you have to come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's it takes some people a lifetime to break away from these capitalist kind of mentalities and notice, hey, well, what's valuable here? And so what was your journey in discovering that the agricultural system was broken?
Well, I started a long time ago when I was a student in the 1970s. I was worked as an intern and volunteer on different organic farms, and I understood from the very beginning that organic farming is much healthier and much more in respect with nature and the balance of nature. And so, but there has always been this approach, organic farming is always something that is laughed about and that is not considered serious, and it's still called as something marginal and esoteric or whatever you can call it. And, there's a big industry, the big agricultural industry, which stands against it. So now, even within 40 years of discoveries, of understanding, organic farming is much, much better for the world and for the environment and for the soil. There's still such a strong resistance. But, I have been working in this. It's not my main topic, but I have always been interested and always trying to consume organic food. And of course, it's a bit disappointing to see how slowly the understanding grows that organic is a much better way. Even from the conventional side, people say now, organic is not good for the environment. You can never feed all humanity, the large population of the planet. You cannot feed it if you have only organic food. And then again, if you look at this, there is a little bit less yield than in conventional farming when you do organic farming, because the plants are not boosted in a very artificial way. They are more balanced. That means they're also more healthy. They're more resilient. So they have more nutrients and better nutrients. We are also in our conventional way of eating. We have lacks of nutrients. That's why we need all the supplements with vitamins and with minerals, which are no longer in the food we eat.
Microbes too.
microbes too. So we have a very, it's not alive, the food we are eating anymore. So all this, we have to go to organic farming, that is for sure. But on the other hand, and this is why I come back to what I said at the beginning, organic farming works under the condition that you drop the consumption of meat and animal products. And also food waste. These are the biggest things where we can really manage to feed a whole ever-growing population, even with less land, because you have a much higher efficiency if you go towards a plant-based diet. This is recognized by lots of research works in many different fields. So, I mean, this is something which science knows, but which is very difficult to implement. Mm-hmm. But and there's a paradigm shift taking place. I mean, especially with the young generation, not only for the environmental and health reasons, but there is also the let's say animal ethical reason that young people say, I don't want to kill any animal anymore. Children very often have a very strong sensitivity towards animals, and they cry when the animal dies, and they love animals. And so, if you have to kill the animal yourself, it's much more difficult than going to a shop and buying a steak in the shop, which is well wrapped in a package. And so in a way, if we come to the situation that we also understand that animals are sentient beings whom we can live with. Look at the dog. You live with a dog and how cute he can be. And, you have a chicken, you have a cow, you have a pig, and you can have a similar relationship. When I worked on the farm, I had such a fantastic relationship with the cows. But I have to accept that at the end, they went to the butcher, but every evening I was sitting with them. They were eating, and I was happy when they were sitting, eating their hay and their food. And so it was a beautiful relationship. And then, of course, I had to accept the system. These cows had to go to the butcher, but we don't really need it. We can do it in a different way. And we can even on a biocyclic vegan farm, we don't have many animals because we feel it is not so good for the compost, because we rather use it directly from the plant. But if there's a small number of animals, if even a farmer wants to keep one or two of his cows, but not for killing, not for exploiting, but just for company, this is always permitted. It's a beautiful thing. So vegan farming or biocyclic vegan farming does not mean that we do not want any animals on the farm. So we can have rescued animals. We can have just animals for the sake of company, being with them. So this is also possible. And we find a new way of living with the animals.
Under the biocyclic vegan model, can you use the manure? Is that okay? Because you're not exploiting.
Well, yes, normally we don't want it really, because manure can also be full of antibiotics and of microbes and germs. So we do not really want the manure on the plants. And also manure can be a bit too aggressive to the young plants. So there are some restrictions. If you have some animals on the farm, you can use the manure, but you have to compost it. 1/3 manure, 2/3 plant material. And then when you do it in the proper way, you are not allowed to put it on vegetables, for instance, but you can go to permanent crops. You can use orchards. You can have it in vineyards. You can have it on trees and bushes, berry bushes. So there you can use. You can put it on grassland as well, because the grass is not eaten directly. So you don't want to get it in contact with the food like vegetables you eat directly. So in a way, there are these restrictions, but you can use the manure, sure.
In your model, do you also make use of compost tea and things like this?
It can be very good. Yes, it can be used, and in certain situations, it goes directly through the leaves, and so it's also an auxiliary in this method or this approach. Yes, as in biocyclic vegan farming, it's not a special method. It takes all good experiences, if it's for permaculture or if it's agroforestry or all the regenerative aspects, mulching, composting, all this is very, very important to try the most appropriate way for the location, what you can do depending on the climate, depending on the situation, but seeing that this can be done without animal manure.
Yeah. That's great. I would just assume that you could, but if you don't need it, why use it? That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So you say exactly. It's like, sometimes people say, well, you need also kind of if there are diseases, sometimes you need something against insects or so. This is always disease, or insects are very often, or fungi also are a signal of an unbalance. So something which doesn't work. So sometimes a farmer needs some product which should be as organic and let's say the least invasive possible, but sometimes it is needed for the survival of a farmer. But he should always work on a healthy soil life, on healthy, resilient plants, and then they are much stronger and the diseases don't come anymore. What
are some of the most aggressive things that you've seen as far as pests or mold or mildews and stuff? What's some of the worst?
As I'm not a practitioner, so I'm not so much used to that. But I think all this kind of disease, when I worked in my garden, I had this. I mean, you see sometimes plants you don't even know what the disease is. They just don't grow very well because when you start working in your garden, oh, well, this works, this one doesn't work. You don't do it systematically. But a farmer, he cannot afford this. He has to look at it exactly. So he has got his consultants. They look what it is, and they have the methods for it. But as I said, I'm not working on a farm now. So it's a long time ago. And, but from theory, I know this.
You have a really thick CV. You've been everywhere and done just about everything. You've worked in psychology. Tell the people where else you've studied and which fields.
Well, I mean, basically, my one of my I started with psychology and literature and drama. So this was some of my first discoveries. But parallel, I also felt I have to work on the country in a farm. This was in parallel, and then gradually I said, well, this cultural work is very interesting, but I want to be more down to the earth. So that's why I went to really work on farms for quite a while. And later, of course, I had a job and I worked also as a teacher in Finland for German language and for the Goethe Institute. So that was something which I enjoyed very much. And talking also in my language courses, talking about agriculture and organic farming. And so we had lots of discussion. I mean, if you talk about language, you talk about anything that interests people. And we had very interesting people. We came together in conversation classes and all different topic of life and change and transformation of society. So it was a great period also in teaching languages. You can talk about many interesting topics. And later, I had to work in business for a time because I felt also it's part of our reality. So I had a business training for a long time in a company in France for selling steel products and public investment products. So that was also very interesting. So it's later in publishing. But I mean, now I feel this is a new topic which I discovered 10 years ago about when I rediscovered also veganism, which was already something I had been confronted to when I was very young. When I was actually in the 1970s, I worked on a kibbutz in Israel, and that was the first time I was confronted with factory farming because I had to work in the chicken houses, and which was a horrible situation, seeing how the chickens were treated. And this was the first time I became a vegetarian because half of the members of the kibbutz were vegetarians. And this helped me very much to discover this. And so I went through different experiences of veganism also, discovering the first vegan cookbook already in the UK, in England in 1973 or so, I remember. And it was my cookbook for a long time. I didn't even know what veganism was, but it was written, what's vegan cooking? So, but I was not strictly addicted to it, and had also some experiences where one-sided vegan diet can also be unhealthy. This I had also as an experience. So, and then I rediscovered after many decades of trial and error, I rediscovered real veganism about 10 years ago and found out that now there's such a knowledge about also nutritional sciences and what you need and how you can have a balanced food. And it can be very tasty. I mean, 40 years ago, vegetarian or vegan food was very boring. It was always the same. And it's amazing now the variety you have and how you can play with it and cook or even traditional recipes to give it a vegan touch. And then you can even have the traditional, and that's again psychology, because people, they love what they learned in their childhood, and there's some taste. And I think that is also the reason why it's so difficult to change, because people stick to what they're used to. It's part of their identity. And as I grew up in Germany and had my typical traditional German food, and, it's not always necessary, because I love all kinds of food. I love very much Mediterranean, Israeli food. I love it so much, and Indian. And so that's my favorite food in general, I think. But, from time to time when it's cold, like today, foggy and snowing, and so then you think, well, now I like a nice traditional meal, and then I can do it in the vegan way now. So it's no problem. I know how to do it. And to get the taste, even, when sometimes in my hardest time in working in different companies in Germany, when you're really, really tired, and so you go to the next, in the street to the next kiosk, buy a currywurst, and then you feel better again.
Yeah.
And now in this situation, I get a vegan currywurst. It's no problem anymore. You get everything you like. And so there's no need to eat meat anymore.
In the beginning, it was harder though. And how did people treat you? Would you say out loud to people, "Hey, I'm a vegetarian," or was that, were you considered strange?
Oh, sure. Sure. You have to become a strong personality. If you are bullied and everything, of course.
You've grown to be comfortable with being weird.
Yeah, sure. That's part of life. But it's rewarding at the same time, because also you need nice people, and you get in touch with, people you can work together with. And, it's just, I think it's very important if, as a human being, I think you discover something, you feel it's right, you follow your conviction, and this makes you stronger, and it makes you even, well, you shouldn't become rigid. I think it's always, it's a kind of a borderline situation. On one hand, you should follow your conviction, but you never should become fanatic. This is very important, because you also have to understand why other people cannot follow you at this moment. So it's okay. You feel, well, that's my decision, but this is not why I don't like the other people I'm with. I have my friends, and we can still be very good friends. So I think we should try to compensate this a bit. If people refuse certain attitudes, we have to learn to cope with it and to get along and to just have fun and being together and being good friends, So.
See, well, this is really important, because when you start dealing in dogma and stuff, this comes naturally for the vegan community because of the animal cruelty. And we think, well, why isn't this person going to go ahead and just stop? Look at this video. Look at this. And so outrage just kind of happens naturally. But you have to remind that people are human, and, you got to not beat people over the head with dogma. There's better ways. So
sure. One has only to look back how oneself has been dogmatic in the past, and not, and even, if you look at yourself, you can understand that others behave the same way, and everybody has got his time for certain discoveries. So it's not a question. This is human to stick to something and not to understand, because our vision is always restricted. We are always limited in what we see and what we understand. And everybody has got his personal history, his personal path. So we have to respect it. And he has been formed and shaped in a certain way from his own history. And I've been shaped by my own history. So we come together, we discover each other. We have so many points in common, and then we can gradually open.
So for somebody like you that's worked in psychology, what do you think is the best method for delivering the message? As far as right now, you're working kind of in an educational kind of way, where you're teaching people how to do stuff. What else can people do to keep with this vegan revolution?
I think it's just doing. It's not, of course, on one hand, preparing information, factual and information and scientifically based information, providing it, making it available. This is one side. On the other hand, trying to live one's own life, because this, kind of have an exchange with people. I feel, very often people come, if you form like this, I don't want to call it a movement, but we have started this biocyclic vegan approach about 10 years ago, or not even 6 years ago, where we brought some people together who were like this approach of biocyclic farming and vegan organic network in Germany and all this, and just putting a group together of people. This creates kind of a power field. This creates something like a magnet or so. And if we work together, if we do something, suddenly someone is attracted, someone else is attracted, and suddenly they are there. And suddenly, when I see our team now, we have fantastic people there, and we have the right people at the right moment. I mean, even for the work we have to do, we have a fantastic graphic designer who came to join us. We have fantastic people experienced in fundraising. We have fantastic people in agriculture, of course, and coming from this background. We have people from marketing and communication. I mean, people who are very highly professional people who see this is very important. They come and join us. They help us to develop the whole thing. So there you feel it is nothing which you can plan. But if you just do something which you think is right, you are guided to meet other people and it becomes stronger, and suddenly it happens. And suddenly, of course, it is always going up and down. It's struggling, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There are misunderstandings, but from this, I heard sometimes there is I don't know if you heard about this, the garbage can theory, that development never goes in a linear way, but sometimes it looks like a garbage can where everything is in there. And then you shake it and you don't know what comes out. And then something suddenly comes out, and then, wow, that's it. And this is something I feel is happening sometimes is when there's most confusion or so, suddenly now this is a kind of a creative moment and something new comes out.
Uh-huh. Chaos, shake it up. Look, keep shaking. Wait, it's throwing spaghetti at the wall until something sticks.
Yeah, but sticking to what you feel is right, but learning from it and changing if you feel you had the wrong attitude, being flexible, being all this together.
But for a lot of people that already know what to do and kind of understand the problem, that's one thing. But for all the people that are really just in the dark, as far as their lifestyle choices and their consumerism habits, how do we get through to them? Because there's
the same way. I mean, if you look at a wave, we are here at this point, and if they're there are so many transitioning points where other people who are already a bit closer, and this takes all our energy. So if I go to someone who's very, very far away, it's very difficult. If you are confronted to him, if you are if you have to live together in a situation on a lonely island, you will discuss with him. But, I think that's what I feel. You are in a certain way really guided. You are attracted to people who suddenly you meet and you start discussing, and something can open. I don't want to go deliberately to a person, oh, you are doing wrong and you have to teach you what to do. There are other people who can do which were closer to him. But I think we should just be there where we are, and we can, in our own environment, in our own surrounding. There are so many people whom we're confronted with. And, when there's a flow, when you feel there is some communication happening, I think that's the important thing. And if there, the impact, if you want to talk about impact, I don't like talking about, you want to influence. No, but then of course you feel there's some swinging together. There's something, and suddenly, oh wow, there's some understanding. And well, that's great. And so how things go.
Well, to a certain extent, they're being misled by one force or group out there. We have lobbies for the agriculture and all this stuff where they are actively trying to manipulate the imaginations of people who might not be able to think for themselves in this way or be exposed to enough education to set them on the right path. And so in some ways, I'm the cynic that says we need to maybe try the same thing just from the other side. But I told the person I was talking to yesterday that one of the best ways to convert somebody to a vegan ideology is to just say, hey, taste this.
Mm-hmm. Sure, if you can do this wherever, of course, there are possibilities. And also, I think sending out information. I mean, this is what we are also working on. We really try to find scientific proof for the approach we are doing. We are trying to this was one of our main motives at the beginning, because when I heard about 6, 7, 8 years ago that people said, well, veganic or vegan organic farming is not possible. You need the animals. I said, well, I know from Adolf Hobbes, this was the pioneer whom I met in the 1980s, that already in Germany in the 1980s. And he had already started in the 50s, saying that in the future, everything, the food will be plant-based and also organic. The agriculture will be organic. But if we need animals for organic farming, we can't become plant-based. So we have to find ways to create soil fertility without animals. And this is something which I learned, and I knew this from my experience. And when I heard that people, even in articles said in the papers, it's not possible, you always will need manure for organic farming, we said, hey, we have to do something about it. Of course, I went to meet with my wife, also went meeting people, getting information. What are there any research results? How things can work? And I asked my friend Johannes Eisenbach, who had developed this kind of approach in Greece. I said, well, come to Germany, give some examples, give some lectures. So, of course, we put out information. We make information available, let's say. We collect facts and scientific proofs that this can happen. We incite even research. We ask now young students who are looking for a topic for their master's thesis or so, well, let's get into this field, and we stimulate, we encourage to go in this way. Of course, that's what we're doing. But there again, it is not that we want to tell people you have to do this in a different way, but we just want to set up facts and prove how it's possible and make information available. And I think with the social media nowadays, it is a great thing. It's not always very positive, but if you put something into the social media, it reaches, you don't know whom the things reach, and they go all in the world. And this is what our experience is. We just have some Facebook account and a website, and we put some information, and suddenly there is Chris Jeffries who calls, I want to make an interview. And this is how things happen.
And it's funny because my wife leaned over to me and she said, you got to email these guys. And I still don't know where she found you, but, well, you guys are doing stuff near me in Witzenhausen, which is, for everybody out there that's watching that doesn't know, Witzenhausen's a tiny little agricultural college town, the smallest in Germany. And it is the forefront, I would say, of everything good as far as organic research and stuff like this. And so where else are you located? Where else do you travel for your work with them?
Well, I'm based in Berlin normally, and Berlin is a good place because lots of people, lots of political groups are coming together, and veganism is very strong. And we have, of course, we have also contacts with different institutions there and NGOs. And so it's a good place to be. But one of our main bases is also in Greece and Cyprus, because as I mentioned, our friend Johannes Eisenbach, who is also at the origin of the development of this vegan organic or biocyclic vegan standard, because we have an organic standard, which is an international global organic standard, which can be used for certification. He has developed this in Greece. He has set up and influenced very strongly organic farming in Greece for many decades, for about 30 years. And he invited Adolf Hobbes, this old pioneer from Germany, to come to help him set up the organic farming in Greece. And so Greece is a very important place, and Cyprus. We have also lots of farms in Greece and Cyprus who are certified biocyclic vegan. And in Kalamata, in the south of Greece, there is a beautiful place which is called the Biocyclic Park, where they do all the trials on composting and humus soil and developing all these fantastic information about a new approach of plant nutrition that I told you about at the beginning, where I said you have to interview Johannes Eisenbach about his experiences there. So this is all taking place in Greece, in Kalamata, in a very historic environment. It's surrounded by beautiful olive groves. And so, so we have a lot of Greek products, oranges and olives and olive oil and, whatever from Greece and Cyprus you can in fact expect from the Mediterranean. So this is a very strong post for us. We have places in the Netherlands, like there it is growing now Also, we have one beautiful farm, and in Netherlands, it's a smaller country, and sometimes people are more quickly involved into new things. And there is a beautiful farm in the north of the Netherlands, about 90 hectares for vegetables. And they became Biocyclic Vegan recently, and they started a movement because they don't use any manure. They call it no shit movement. So they, and they have vegetable boxes they deliver now, and they are very, very present in the media. They are very, because they have also strong problems with animal agriculture, and they want to get rid of in Holland. And so he becomes like a model for how to do farming without animals. So he's very much in the media. He became elected agricultural entrepreneur of the year 2022. So he is very visible already in this farm Sonnengut. So this is very important. We have other places, like in France, we have some beautiful vineyards near Bordeaux and Bergerac for beautiful wines. We have in Austria and Hungary and Romania, there are large farms because there are many arable farms. They are doing beans and soybeans and cereals in large surfaces. So there is also some activity going on. There are new farms joining. We have now also a beautiful vegetable farm in Switzerland and some other small kind of community-supported agriculture project, which are very interested in this approach as well. There's actually one in Berlin, near Berlin, called Plant Age, which is a fantastic project which was set up a few years ago. And they are certified Biocyclic Vegan, and they do about 800 or 1,000 veggie boxes every week around Berlin, to Berlin. And so there is a very strong pulsating place also. We have a farm which is just about one of the first veganic farms in Germany whom we've been working together with from the very beginning. He decided a bit later to become certified. Now he's also on the way to become Biocyclic Vegan, which is near Leipzig in East Germany. Now it's interesting. We had the first Canadian vineyard which became certified. They heard about us from through the internet, and they were so keen, and they are doing beautiful sparkling wine in Nova Scotia. So that's very interesting. I never heard about wine from Nova Scotia, but that's fantastic. L'Acadie Vineyards. And now just Johannes Eisenbach, our friend, he's just traveling in South America. He was invited to Colombia, to Paraguay, to Brazil, giving classes on biocyclic vegan farming, preparing farms to become certified, training on how to make compost and humus soil. So he's just there. And so it's even in other countries around the world now, people become aware, and just little sparks of new
little hope. There's a little hope out there.
Hope, yeah, everywhere. And I mean, this is something, and we are a small team. We are not many people. Sometimes we are a bit overwhelmed by all this because we have to cope with all the inquiries but it's so fascinating to meet all these people. There's even now a farm in Iceland that wants to become certain. North of Iceland. She's originally from Germany. She got married to a guy from Iceland, to farmer, and they are so happy now. They went already to Greece for training how to make the compost, and they're starting their project on their farm in Iceland. There is also a group in Sweden, on a kind of small permaculture farm, and they are also trying to develop this and giving training courses in Sweden. So at the moment, there is a lot of activity ongoing in many places. There are some other, like an olive grove in Sicily, in Italy. So there are some other places, individual farms which are already connected. So there's a beautiful example in the UK. That was a farmer who was a dairy farmer in England, in Dorset, and he gave up all his cows and he gradually transits. And just yesterday I heard that even he was happy he had to give up his cows now, but it was a person who donated some money that he did not need to send him to the butcher, but he could give the cows to a sanctuary, which was very happy. So his last cows could survive. And he is now certified Biocyclic Vegan and also starting now this new approach. So we are working with groups like Stock-Free Farming in the UK or the Vegan Organic Network. We are very friendly together. We have different partners, and in Germany it's also an association working to help farmers to transit for transformation to stock-free, to getting out of animal agriculture. So it's a large network. Yeah.
And so it's really important that people start moving away from the three reasons I like to name on the program. That's vegan lifestyle is good for the animals, good for the environment, and good for your health. And so we all got to start right away.
That's true.
Well, Axel Anders, he's going to come back and he's going to tell us more about the incredible work they're doing. We're going to talk next time about food standards all over the world. We're going to talk about Demeter maybe. Biocyclic Vegan, which in German you say Biocyclic. Say it in German.
Biocyclisch. Vegan.
Vegan. Okay.
Vegan,
International.
Yes.
Check them out and see how you can get involved. If you have a farm, see if you can get certified and start using your brains before you start farming. Thanks for coming on. Do you have anything you want to add?
I think it's good if you said we come together again. There will be plenty of opportunity.
Well,
but you can
in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And otherwise, there's information on our website. I think you can also show the website is www.biocyclic-vegan.org. So I think it's easy to find and they have plenty of information.
All right. Until next time, we'll sign off to everybody at home. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye.